Hello everyone and welcome to my B&B Fan Club channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The episode began with Bill, Katie, Will, and Liam meeting in the Spencer patriarch's office. Bill speculated that Luna had beaten herself up or prompted her cellmate to do so. He said that everyone who was leaving her feeling black and blue should be encouraged to continue. Katie, in response, suggested that they should keep Luna away from anyone who could harm the baby. Liam, who had recently closed a major contract for Spencer Publications, said with excitement that his new lease on life had also brought him increased clarity. "Hope and Beth are my world," he explained. He interpreted it as a sign that Hope had terminated things with Carter, and revealed that he intended to make another move for his ex-wife. "I really think she's ready," Katie remarked, "to find her way back to herself and you." Bill reminded Liam that Spencer men fight for what they want, which he intended to do with Hope. Brooke and Deacon joined the Liam bandwagon at Forrester. Brooke, Hope, Carter, and Daphne discussed HFTF PR ideas and scented the perfumer's new cardamom-based fragrance. Everyone was relieved that Liam was once again safe and healthy. Brooke, alone with Hope, pushed her daughter to give Liam another chance. Just then, Deacon walked in and urged Hope in the same path. "It just seems like something's been missing from your life," Brooke told me. Hope immediately spoke up to persuade her father to come to his senses and discard Sheila for good. Later, Hope made a connection between Sheila's attachment with Luna and the danger the killer posed to both families. She had nearly murdered Liam after all. "Please just end it with Sheila," Hope begged. Deke feels the same way. On his way out, Deacon insisted that love was not always easy. "Oh, and don't let Liam escape again." He also reiterated that. Carter romanced Daphne at the office in the CEO's office. Carter told Daphne that being around Hope after their breakup would not be difficult. He accepted his fate and figured he'd never stand a chance against Liam and their family. He admits that he should have listened to Daphne first. Carter had a meal cooked for them at the office. While they flirted, he complimented her singing, and Daphne invited him to the next open mic night at Il Giardino. Later, he said that he had been drawn to her when they first met, but he had suppressed his feelings for her in order to protect his relationship with Hope. Now he didn't have to. Everyone nudged Liam and Hope toward reunion in the show's concluding moments. Daphne challenged Carter to win her trust. "I won't be second in any man's heart," she told me. In response, he stated that he had seen a trend in his romances. He preferred ladies who needed to be saved. Daphne did not require saving, so he felt frightened. But he was going to relish showing to her that his feelings for her were genuine. Back at Spencer, Bill mentioned that he noticed a shift in Liam. He had always liked his son's values, but now he exuded confidence and strength. "We're a lot more alike than you think," Liam told his father. "Go after your happiness," Bill said, "and show me the way." At Forrester, Brooke assured Hope that she and Deacon were not pressuring her to reunite with Liam. "There were reasons we broke things off," she reminded her mother. And after having her heart broken a few times, she didn't want to have it broken again. Brooke advised her to take advantage of her time with Liam and Beth. "I think there's a sense of lessons learned on both our parts," Hope told me. "How could I not love him?" From then, we alternated between Bill encouraging Liam and Brooke encouraging Hope. In the heart of Los Angeles, when the sun dipped low over the enormous cityscape, sending golden hues across the glass towers of Forrester Creations, a calm tempest raged among its most intertwined souls. Hope Logan sat in her office, the weight of her previous judgments crushing against her chest like a stone. The space, which was decorated with fabric samples and sketches of next season's ideas, felt emptier than it should have. Her fingers stroked the edge of a snapshot nestled behind a stack of papers, a candid moment from years ago, showing her and Liam Spencer smiling under a canopy of stars at a long-forgotten banquet. As she reflected on the fragmented path that had led them here, the recollection seared, intense, and persistent. Hope's marriage to Liam had previously been the foundation of her life, a beacon of love that she believed could withstand any adversity. But life's unrelenting twists had broken their bond. Infidelities, misunderstandings, and the relentless pull of their interwoven families had eroded everything they'd accomplished. Hope, now divorced and co-parenting their daughter Beth, was caught in a web of longing and remorse. The people around her, her mother Brooke, her stepfather Deacon, her brother Will, her best friend Katie, and even Bill Spencer. All appeared to agree that she and Liam belonged together. Their voices rang in her head, a chorus of support for a Lope reunion, but Hope wasn't sure her heart could take another try. Brooke, the eternal romantic, had cornered Hope in the Forrester cafeteria that morning, her eyes beaming with conviction. "You and Liam have something rare," she continued, slowly swirling her coffee. "Love like that does not simply fade. You owe it to yourself and Beth to fight for it." Hope nodded, her mouth tight, but the words felt like a script she'd heard before. Brooke's own love story, tangled, passionate, and often painful, served as both a beacon of hope and a cautionary tale. Hope couldn't help but wonder whether her mother's optimism was motivated by a desire to atone for her own romantic mistakes. Deacon, too, had chimed in, his stern earnestness catching Hope off aback during a late-night phone conversation. "Kid, I've messed up plenty in my life," he'd continued, his voice cracking through the line. "What about you and Liam? You have a genuine opportunity. Don't let pride or fear get in the way." Deacon's raw and uncensored comments echoed with hope. He had been attempting to reconstruct his own life, to be a better father and husband, and his sincerity made her doubt her own dedication. However, the wounds of Liam's erratic heart, his moments of devotion to Steffi, his reluctance to totally commit, remain. Will, Hope's younger brother, had adopted a different path, his youthful optimism piercing through the complexities. "You're happier when you're with him," he observed simply, tossing a basketball between their hands as they sat in the Forrester garden. "I see it in your eyes, sister. You light up around Liam even now." Will's words cut through her barriers like a dagger. He was too young to comprehend the weight of betrayal and the gradual erosion of trust, but his faith in her happiness made Hope long for the innocence of their childhood, when love seemed like a fairy tale. Katie, ever the pragmatic optimist, had been the most determined. She'd leaned across the table over lunch at Il Giardino, her voice quiet but forceful. "Hope, you and Liam have gone through hell, yet you always make your way back. That is not a coincidence, it is fate." Katie's own personal past with Bill Spencer, which included grief and redemption, gave her remarks weight that Hope couldn't deny. However, the thought of entrusting her heart to Liam again seemed like wading into a storm, knowing that lightning could strike. Bill, the Spencer clan's steadfast patriarch, had been the most unexpected supporter. He'd stormed into Hope's office the week before, his imposing presence filling the space. "Your family, Hope?" he continued, his tone a blend of command and affection. "Liam is my son, and I understand he's not perfect. Hell, neither am I. But he loves you and you adore him. Stop overthinking and make it work." Bill's optimism was contagious, but it clashed with Hope's uncertainty. His faith in Liam's love felt like a challenge, as if her reluctance was a lack of courage. Regardless of their support, Hope's heart was a war. She adored Liam. There was no denying it. His smile, his compassionate demeanor with Beth, the way his eyes softened when he gazed at her, all of it tugged at her heart. But love wasn't enough, especially because trust had been broken so many times. The recollection of Liam's uncertainty, of being divided between her and Steffi, lingered like a ghost. Could she risk her heart again, knowing how painful it was to lose him? Could she believe in a future that seemed so fragile? Meanwhile, across town at Forrester Creations Design Lab, another story developed, one that contrasted strongly with Hope's distress. Carter Walton, the company's steady COO, had discovered an unexpected spark in Daphne, a new designer whose exuberant energy had brightened the office. Their relationship, called L'amour by the office gossips, was a bright spot in an otherwise difficult situation. Daphne's laughter rang through the corridors, and Carter's habitual stoicism melted in her presence. Their developing romance was a reminder of what love could be: fresh, straightforward, and full of potential. Hope felt envious as she watched them. She remembered how love felt before it became a maze of doubts and regrets. Carter and Daphne's love was not without problems. Daphne's bright, avant-garde designs clashed with Forrester's traditional taste, and Carter frequently found himself mediating between her and the board's more conservative members. Nonetheless, their common enthusiasm for innovation and evident synergy made them a partnership. They spent late evenings doodling together, their hands brushing over pencils and fabric samples, their chats ranging from work to dreams. It was the type of love that seemed effortless, and it made Hope's heart ache for what she had lost. As the days went, the pressure from her family and friends increased. Hope began to wonder whether her opposition to a reconciliation with Liam was based on wisdom or fear. She noticed how Beth lighted up when Liam was around, and how their daughter's laughter filled the room when they were all together as a family. Those times were a glimpse of what may be a life in which they were entire again. However, there was a significant risk. What if they tried but failed again? What if Beth had to face another heartbreak? The concept was awful. Hope arrived to Liam's house one evening as the sun began to drop over the Pacific. She hadn't intended to come, but her feet had led her there, drawn by a desire for answers. Liam answered the door, surprised and hopeful. "Hope," he replied quietly, standing aside to allow her enter. The familiarity of his house, the aroma of his coffee, the images of Beth on the walls, hit her like a tsunami. They sat on the couch, the silence between them filled with unspoken words. "I don't know if I can do this again," Hope said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Everyone thinks we should be together, but I am afraid, Liam. I'm afraid we'll hurt each other again." Liam's eyes, the ones that had once promised her eternity, met hers. "I know I've hurt you," he admitted, his voice raspy. "I've made mistakes, and I'll carry the guilt with me forever. But I love you, Hope. I have never stopped. If you give me a chance, I'll spend the rest of my life proving it." His words were both soothing and cutting, satisfying her need while piercing her doubts. She wanted to believe him, to put her belief in the love they had shared. But the weight of their past held her back. "I need time," she finally remarked, getting up to depart. "I need to know this is right, for me, Beth, and us." Liam nodded, his face a mix of determination and anguish. "I'll wait," he replied, "however long it takes." Hope walked away, the city lights blurring through her tears, feeling the weight of her decision bear down on her. Brooke, Deacon, Will, Katie, and Bill all encouraged her to return to the love that had once defined her. But she realized that love was not guaranteed. It was a gamble, a leap into the unknown, and she wasn't sure she had the strength to do it. Back at Forrester Creations, Carter and Daphne's passion blossomed in stark contrast to Hope's doubts. Their laughter filled the workplace, and their shared glances served as a reminder of love's possibilities. Hope, on the other hand, was uncertain about her next steps. She loved Liam, but it wasn't enough, yet. She'd have to negotiate the trip to a Lope reunion on her own. Her emotions divided between hope and dread, the past and the prospect of a future. Days stretched into weeks, and Hope immersed herself in her work, creating collections that spoke of strength and beauty grown out of pain. She watched Carter and Daphne, their love a beacon of possibility, and wondered whether she could rekindle that spark. She spent time with Beth, cherishing their moments together, aware that whatever action she made would have an impact on her daughter's life. And she remembered Liam, the guy he had been and pledged to be. One night, as she sat alone in her office, the photograph of her and Liam drew her attention again. She snatched it up, her fingertips tracing the contours of their smiles. The memories served as a lifeline, reminding them of what they once had. But it was also a warning, a reminder of how swiftly happiness can change to grief. She placed the photograph down, her heart heavy with indecision. The world desired a Lope reunion, but Hope wasn't ready. Not yet. Her story was not one of triumph or resolution. It was a sad, silent tale of a woman stuck between love and fear, longing and loss, looking for the strength to choose her own way. Adrian had been offered a position overseas, the opportunity to run a new branch of the company bearing their family name. It was everything he had worked for, and she had smiled through dinner as he excitedly discussed the chance, her heart flying and breaking at the same time. When he turned to her with those deep, earnest eyes and asked whether she would accompany him, she hesitated. She had hesitated because she cherished her roots, family, and the place that had shaped her. And in that moment of uncertainty, she unwittingly created the first barrier between them. "I can't leave," she whispered quietly, almost sheepishly avoiding his gaze. "Adrian, this is my life too. I have commitments here. I can't just abandon everything." He nodded, but there was a spark of pain in his eyes, which she didn't detect initially. "I understand," he replied calmly, but the tension between them was obvious, like a storm cloud forming silently above. That night he kissed her with ultimate tenderness, and she pretended she didn't feel the ominous weight weighing down on them. Weeks have passed. He had left for the new city, vowing to call, write, and come back on weekends. But promises like fragile glass are readily broken. The calls became fewer, the messages shorter, and the joy in his voice was replaced by a monotone that disturbed her. She had convinced herself that was normal, and that love could bridge distances. But she discovered, love required more than just longing. It demanded presence, dedication, and a desire to fight even when it was uncomfortable. It was a wet Thursday when she first noticed the murmurs. Adrian had been spotted with someone else, according to a colleague she hardly knew, who mentioned it casually. Her stomach had fallen, leaving a hollow hole that appeared to absorb all of her optimism. She confronted him immediately over the phone, her voice wavering despite her best efforts to remain calm. "Who is she?" she demanded, pushing her fingers into the edge of her desk. There had been a pause followed by a heavy sigh. "Elena. I never meant for it to happen like this." The words were both confession and explanation, a frail shield against her rage. She hung up before he could say anything else, but the harm had been done. That night she wept herself to sleep, the truth of betrayal pushing down relentlessly. The house felt empty without him, even though he had been physically absent for weeks. But it wasn't only his absence that hurt. It was the presence of another person in the area they had once shared so intimately. Months have blurred together. Elena submerged herself in work, devoting all of her attention to projects and meetings in an attempt to fill the emptiness Adrian's absence and betrayal had created. But no matter how many deals she closed or how many awards she got, the anguish persisted. She would stroll by his favorite chair, brush her fingertips over the desk where he had left his pens, and experience a sorrow that no amount of ambition could alleviate. And then there was Luca. He was everything Adrian wasn't, dependable, kind, and endlessly patient. He looked over her with gentle love, offering assistance when she could scarcely breathe. Friends began to whisper, advising that it was time to move on, to allow her heart to heal. She had thought about it, even pondered the notion, but every time Luca's fingers touched hers, she recoiled, haunted by memories that refused to disappear. It wasn't that she didn't care about him. It was that her heart continued to beat for Adrian despite his betrayal. She ran into him one evening at a charity dinner. Adrian. Across the busy ballroom, he appeared different, sharper, perhaps happier, but with a subtle melancholy that echoed her own. Their gazes locked, and the world appeared to come to a halt. She wanted to run to him, confront him, and demand answers, but the fear of reopening previous wounds kept her in place. He approached, apprehensive, a shadow of the guy she once knew but strangely familiar. "Elena," he whispered softly, almost reverently. "Can we talk?" She nodded, unable to speak, and they retreated to a secluded nook. He looked at her with such passion that her heart raced and her chest ached. "I made a mistake," he started, and she had to resist the desire to shut him down right away. "I should not have left things as they were. I was selfish and damaged you. I'm so sorry." She gulped, the knot in her throat threatening to choke her. "You hurt me more than you'll ever know," she said quietly. "I waited. I hoped. I believed. And you? You just walked away." He reached for her hand, but she reacted instinctively. "I know," he replied. "I understand, and I do not expect you to forgive me. I just needed you to understand the reality. I never stopped loving you." The words, rather than providing relief, deepened the agony. She had loved him with all her heart, and now the discovery of his enduring sentiments felt cruel. A reminder that the past she had tried to forget was still very much present. "Love isn't enough," she finally admitted, her voice breaking. "Sometimes it isn't enough to fix what's broken." He nodded, understanding in his eyes. "I understand. And I can't ask anything from you. I just..." He paused, searching for words to relieve the tension between them. "I wish things were different." She expressed the same sentiment. She wished they could go back and fix the mistakes, erase the months of agony. But life unfortunately did not provide rewinds. And so they stood there, two souls linked by history but split by decisions and circumstances, both haunted by what might have been. Elena snuck away to the terrace while the gala went on around them, the night air cooling her tear-streaked cheeks. She leaned against the railing, peering at the city lights, each one a small echo of unfulfilled dreams. Luca's remarks, Adrian's apologies, and the unrelenting march of time all crashed inside her, leaving her raw, exposed, and agonizingly vulnerable. In that moment, she realized something achingly simple. Love may be dazzling, intoxicating, and transformative, but it could also leave scars deeper than ambition or treachery. She would have those scars for the rest of her life, a reminder of the ecstasy and pain she had experienced.